talking comics, games, and collectibles with Tim Broman, co-owner of Collectors Connection, and Ryan Fleming, owner of Rogue Robot in Duluth, Minnesota.
Well, okay, I'm gonna pump my own business here because I honestly, Schindler's in the Minneapolis area had 14 stores and was open for 50 years. Mm-hmm. We've got the one store in Duluth, but we've got Clint Helinski and Peter Gross and Barb Schultz are all people who are in the comic industry in one form or capacity or another. And Alex Ness just started in on doing comic books as well. And these are all former employees. I don't know if you've ever seen that commercial on TV where McDonald's talks about all the people that are senators and House of Representatives that at one time or another worked for McDonald's. Mm-hmm. Well, I've got these people who worked in the industry, and I don't, much larger stores than mine have never had one person that I know of. But the thing of it is, it's not really anything that I did. I mean, it wasn't anything. We didn't lay the groundwork for them to become famous. They wanted to be in the business, and they found their own path. We just happened to be part of the path.
From what I understand, the one thing that you did help them with the path, and I think this is awesome and kind of funny, was that basically you weren't afraid to let your employees kind of screw off a little bit for the fact that, like, Peter would be drawing at the counter and going through the back issue boxes for references so he could draw at the counter. Yeah, I know you let me draw a lot too when I was willing to.
Yeah,
I wanted to start working in comics. Yeah.
Yeah, my partner doesn't know that. Let's not tell him.
I mean, yeah, that never happened. Tim was always there beating us.
Yes, indeed, cracking the whip. Yeah. But I mean, it's just I always used to make the joke about Peter that I'd come into work and there'd be Peter sitting behind the counter doing these drawings, and they'd be like, "Damn it, Peter, the garbage hasn't been taken out, and there's inventory that has to go on the shelf." And oh, hey, that's interesting. What is that? Mm-hmm. Because he's sitting there drawing. And after, Peter used to teach a class over here at the Depot, I think, on drawing comic books. Yeah. And the kids would come in from the class, and they'd show Peter their work, and Peter would tell them, "Okay, you're doing fine with this, now go work on that." And so I came to realize, that's just the way Peter operates. And so he was a good guy, and he was a friendly guy, and he was good to the kids. So that was reason enough to keep him around. I mean, if I had to take out the trash and do a little extra work, then that was fine. That was the trade-off. That's cool. Do you think that shows like Big Bang Theory, Antiques Roadshow, and Storage Wars help or hurt your business?
Oh, I got two answers to that. Big Bang Theory, it's kind of helpful and kind of... I love Big Bang Theory. I watch it every week.
So do I. Well, I like it. I don't get to watch it.
However, though, it makes people... I know people who watch that know nothing about this kind of industry. And when they start talking... When they go to the comic shop and stuff like that, people... I don't know. They think it's kind of funny and geeky. So I have a lot of people where it seems like they come in to the store looking to have a Big Bang Theory experience. And they kind of like poke fun at stuff in the store sometimes, and they're just out having a good time. But at the same time, it's kind of like this is my whole world over here. But no, I think for the most part, though, to make people aware that being a geek can be cool and fun and stuff like that, I do think it's beneficial in that way. Antique Roadshow and Storage Wars and Pawn Stars, things like that.
Comic Book Man.
I think those are kind of good and bad at the same time. It's kind of neat because people can see kind of like a quick glimpse of what that kind of industry is of selling collectibles and stuff like that. But the problem I have with those kind of shows is they barter on them. And I'm just not a bartering person. I tell all my customers when they come into Rogue Robot, if they want to sell something, I go, I'm going to show you what I'm going to do. I go, I will price this. I will show you how much I'm going to sell it for. If you come in here tomorrow, it will have a price tag that says this. I give this much percentage for cash and this much percentage for in-store credit. If you would like to sell it, which one would you like? And then they go, oh, can I maybe get the cash but have it get to be like this much? I go, no, you don't understand. I'm not bartering. This is the top dollar I will give you. I'm not trying to start out low. This is top dollar. And, I've had people try to barter with me like it's on, Pawn America or Pawn Stars and stuff. And I'm like, you're not getting it. I'm not doing this to try to break you down. I really am not bartering. So that's one thing that's kind of, annoying about it. But it is neat, though. I mean, I watch those shows myself. It's fun to see what other collectibles are out there, and then it gets other people excited about finding collectibles and stuff like that, or just learning about things that they didn't know about the collectible market.
Do you think things like Storage Wars do you think people are coming in with more stuff because they watch shows like Storage Wars? And I mean, let's face it, they don't think they're coming in with $1 comic book. They think they're coming in with $100 comic book. But
We have had a lot of people bring us stuff. Sadly, though, the one thing that people bring me more than anything is comics from the 1990s. And those are the comic books that people were buying because they thought that they were investing their money in something, which I would never suggest anybody ever do ever, is to invest in comics or action figures or cards, because if the bottom drops out or if it ends up not being a big thing, you're stuck with something you hate. You should just buy something that you love. But these people in the 90s, there was that whole thing going on like, hey, comics are doing better than the stock market. You should invest in comics. It's like, I have these people who bring these comics from the 90s, and because they were selling so many, they're like printing 3 times as many back then as they did now, and they're everywhere. My back issue bins are full of it. And they go, I paid $20 for this in 1990. I go, yeah, well, it's worth $250 now. It's like, and I end up turning a lot of that away. But I do have a lot of people where they're digging around in Grandma and Grandpa's attic, and they find a box of old comics, and then that's nice. And then I make them an offer, and usually they're pretty happy with my offer. So I've only had one person ever think that my offer was too low. So.
Give it time, man. Give it time.
Yeah.
Because, I mean, I'm basically where you are as far as, when I'm making a cash offer, that's about where we're going to go. I mean, they made me a couple dollars one way or the other for wiggle room. But for the most part, I'm not looking to wheel and deal. If you can make a better deal elsewhere, I'll tell you the places to go, including this guy. But basically, my price is my price, and that's how it is. And
I do the exact same thing. I say that, and then I also go, and if you don't like mine, I go, you can go to Collectors Connection, you can go to Globe News.
Superior, yep. And that's that's just kind of how it is. I mean, we've all known each other for years, and so we don't have a problem trading off. Anyways.
But now, you raise an interesting point by bringing up Collectors Connect or Globe News, right?
Right.
Which is a very different store model than either one of you.
Oh, yeah.
Right?
It's a store within a store when it comes to the collectibles, and then they have really weird hours and days that they're open. Well, to me, it's weird because I can't remember what any of them are because they're like in the middle and end early and open late sometimes.
Yeah, the store they has like you said, store within a store. In the back of the shop is the little collectibles shop where the sports cards, the comic books, the coins, and the CDs are, and that's open not as long as the outer store, which is greeting cards and tobacco and newspapers and magazines,
and knickknacks, little
stuff like that,
little things.
Also, there isn't a single table in the joint.
As far as for gaming, no. If he could have one, he'd have one.
Oh, yeah.
I'm pretty sure of it because he's pretty much got the Superior side of the Superior Wisconsin market pretty much to himself.
He's a really nice guy. I mean, his business model, though, seems to work for him. I don't think I could make it work if I did it like that. The majority of my sales, I think, really depends on my game room because even if I'm not selling comics and games that day, if it's a slow market on that, I have people coming in here like 5 to 8 times a day buying pop and snacks and chips, stuff like that. And then
local office folk or just your customers?
Oh, the customers. However, the local office folks too, though, use us as a convenience store. There's about 2 people who that are in this building that we share that come in here on their lunch breaks and buy a bag of M&Ms and pop and stuff like that.
I'm going to ask another question, I guess, since I got it in here. What do you think of the advent of digital comics? Where do you think your business? What's going to be the future of comic book shops in general? Not specifically ours, but what do you think the future is going to be for digital comics?
I was just talking about this to a customer.
And?
I'm not a big fan of them. Well, one, I got into comics because I like to collect. I feel that collecting a digital file is not the same as collecting a comic. I also feel like there's no real worth to it because you don't have to grade the condition of a digital file. It's always mint unless you get it corrupted, and then it's worthless. But also, though, too, most likely if you bought that digital file, I'm sure you can go back online and re-download it. I know I can do that for iTunes stuff, so I'm sure you can do that with comics. I feel that there's something special about holding comics in your hand. I like that. Like I know a lot of people with books, they have their nooks, but there's other people who just feel like there's something better about holding a book in their hand. I also feel that it could potentially in one way hurt comics. Marvel's doing a real big push for digital comics right now. You buy a comic and you get a digital comic with it.
Yep.
And I know that the big businesses have expressed in the past going and doing strictly digital. Well, there's one problem with that. It gets rid of or not one, there's 2. It gets rid of the collectible aspect of it. And then 2, it makes it so the shop owner has nothing to sell. Now, now you might be like, well, they don't need the shop owner. Well, who else is reading the comics and pushing them, like telling them what's cool about them at the store? When I have customers come in, they say to me, oh, what have you been reading right now? What's really good? And I go, oh, I really like, Red Hood and the or I really like the new Batman 52, or oh, have you been reading the new Avenging Spider-Man series? The website doesn't do that. I mean, they could try to, but they don't get to actually hear from someone who's into it. I mean, obviously on the Marvel website, every single comic that they push as a digital file is going to be a great comic, they're going to say. But so they don't have that honest sell point. So I could see their sales actually going down. Also, too, people who all of a sudden just on a whim want to buy a comic book, they don't think I'll go to a website and just randomly on a whim buy a comic book. They walk by your store and they go, oh, look at that, a comic store. I've heard of those. I wonder if they have comics in there. Because you actually do hear that question. And then they come in and then they buy some comic of, probably something that they saw in a movie that they like Iron Man. Like, oh, do you have Iron Man? I love Robert Downey Jr. Yeah, we have Iron Man. So, you don't get that either, too, with the digital comics.
See, now, for me, I think that if you're looking at comic books, for digital comic books, you have to look at, like, CD sales. 10 years ago, CD sales were strong. Now they're weak. But music sales are as strong as they've ever been. Mm-hmm. It's just that everyone's going to the digital downloads, or the majority of people are going to the digital downloads. So I think in the long run, I think that digital sales will be the difference. The other thing about it is, and we've gone through this, I don't know if you went through this, but you will go through this. When they killed Captain America, that made all the news outlets. When Superman quit, there was it issue 700, he walks into the White House and says, I quit.
Yeah.
That made Rush Limbaugh, which made all the news outlets. When Wonder Woman had a change in her hair, that made some news outlets.
Are you talking about the costume change that she
The
had?
hair change.
Oh, the hair change. Okay.
She had a hair change.
Yeah,
so did Superman. But I guess the point is, when they have these story bumps, all of a sudden, some point in the future, Aunt May is going to die in Spider-Man, and she's going to be gone for good. So when that happens, that'll make the news outlets. The comic book industry can only print so many books, but digitally, people can sell 1 million digital hits in the span of a couple of days because it's available that way. But I also noticed that it's a line in the sand. I always use the example of my partner's daughters, who are in their 20s. My partner or I, if we have a song we want, or if we have a movie we want, we buy the DVD. We put it in our hands. The girls, they want something, they download it onto their machines, and they have it on their machines. That's just a generational difference, and I think that will be something else that plays in the future. That's just kind of how I'm seeing the digital market. I could be wrong, but...
And, I agree with that, too. And I think that for the most part, youth do like the digital files. But there always is going to be those few people who still, though, know about collecting comics and going, like, I want to collect them for the collectability and the love of it. And like I said, sometimes it's just not the same having that digital file. It's just not the same. I have I get a big grin on my face when I go down into my climate-controlled basement with dehumidifiers, and I look and I see and I see my 30 or 40 long boxes of comics. No, if it was on my computer, I'd just be like, oh, look at all the files I have. But when I go down the basement and I see those long boxes, I can't help but smile.
And see, I don't know the difference. I'm just, technologically, I'm a hayseed. But when you have these files on your Nook or your whatever it is, your Kindle, what if you lose that? What if you lose it somewhere? You leave it at the Mall of America, or it gets run over by your car. Can you go back to your account and download them again, or is it a downloadable thing that's in your machine and that's that with that?
No, when you have a special account on those sites, and you can log back into your account and download the file again.
Okay. What do you do when some guy walks in and says, I've got 2 little kids at home and I want to get them into comic books? How do you introduce young readers to comic books here?
Well, I ask a lot of questions. Well, I shouldn't say a lot, but I ask questions. I say, do they have a favorite superhero, or are they more into cartoons like Donald Duck and Mickey Mouse? And once I get those kind of answers, I help them find what I have. And if they say they're into superheroes, I also ask, okay, what age group are we talking about? If they're like 8 or under, I'd steer them towards the kid-friendly DC Marvel books. Like I have Young Justice, which is based off the cartoon show on Cartoon Network, and Green Lantern Corps, which is also on Cartoon Network. Also, there's all those Marvel cartoon shows on Disney Toon, and I have issues of that too. Yep. And I get Looney Tunes, and I get Archie and Betty. I get the cartoon ones.
So you basically do the same thing we do. I mean, we have a rack full of what we call family-friendly comic books, and then we have the box of back issues that goes with it, and so there's an assortment of things, whether it's Disney or Muppets, or whether it's like you say, there's Batman and Spider-Man and Young Justice books and things like that.
And then, and if they're older, but they're still kids, like they're 13, I show them the superhero books, but I say, don't go for the ones that say Max or MA on the cover, because that means that they are strictly for adults, where there is, possible nudity or swearing or gore.
Yeah.
So the other ones are just superheroes, punching out villains and vice versa.
Yep. So we're gonna take a break for a moment, and we're gonna ask a side question. How annoying is David Beard?
This concludes episode 3 of our podcast series. Watch for further episodes in the future.